Ni de aquí ni de allá. Let's talk about it. What's up, SpicyTalko Fam? Yo soy Daniel Asada.
Carlos Chorizo here.
Ernesto el Pastor.
And today we wanted to talk about something that any Mexican American will understand.
I feel like maybe not just Mexican.
You're right.
It's immigrants.
Sorry.
Immigrants in general.
Any immigrant in general. I apologize.
But we're gonna speak from our perspective.
We're all Mexican.
Yes, we are.
But so one thing that you guys might have noticed, and if you guys are fortunate enough to travel to Mexico with your family, there's always that
awkwardness.
Awkwardness where I feel like I have good Spanish. I'm fluent in Spanish. But then I go over there and they're just like, you don't know how to speak Spanish. No se dice laquear, se dice cerrar la puerta. And I'm just like, oh, well, my parents told me they said laquear because our English is integrated with
Yeah.
So basically what I'm saying is when you go to Mexico, you feel like don't belong there, and you come back home and you hear this person down at the Walmart cashier line say, speak Spanish or whatever. You're stuck in this little limbo where you don't know where you belong. Are you American? Are you Hispanic, Mexican? It's just
I know what you mean, because basically you're saying you're always feeling like the Mexicans think you're not Mexican enough, and the Americans think you're not American enough. Because whatever you might still have, for example, speak from my perspective as an immigrant, I felt always judged on I always get this, your English is so good, oh my god, because I had ESOL or whatever, in elementary, oh my god, your English is so well, I can understand every word that you say.
You have no accent at all.
And I'm just like, no, but
you didn't say that well.
I don't understand that.
Oh,
are you praying? But I can see that, and I want to admit that when I heard people born here, Chicanos born here, speaking Spanish, it sounded weird to me.
Yeah,
and I felt bad judging, because I'd be like, oh, that sounds weird. It just sounds weird. There's no real way to say oh, your Spanish sounds weird. It sounds different. I would never say it's not Spanish, but I did feel oh, that's cringy when I would hear certain people speak Spanish. But then I learned after hanging out with more Latino Americans, Latinx Americans, that everyone has different dialects, and you get a lot of it, like you said, from your parents, from your family. So they talk a certain way. You learn how to speak their Spanish, and then you grow up with your family. You learn to speak their Spanish. So you probably
Martinez Spanish.
You probably heard my Spanish, and you're like, wow, that sounds cringy too. Because you get accustomed to it. But I see what you mean though. You're always feeling
outcasted and just stared at and judged by both sides. Yeah, I get it. I get it.
Because the one thing that would always be frustrating to me, because we can't go to Mexico, we'll be eating some tacos or drinking a Coke, and it'd be los tacos de Mexico son más buenos.
Those tacos from Mexico are so much better, man. You don't know what you're missing, man. These tacos, these tacos ain't shit. Yeah, man.
And then because the meat there is more fresh, or blah blah blah. But tacos here, they just have something. The tortillas aren't as good, and I'm like, just let me eat my food, bro.
I don't know anything
different.
Yeah, let me drink my Coke. The Coke over there has real sugar, not this refined sugar, and I'm like, well, I got diabetes. Come on, man.
That's annoying. I like to feel good for people because they get to experience things that I don't get to experience. But at a certain point, it kind of feels like you're rubbing it in my face.
Yeah.
And it's just I get it, man. I can't go.
You want me to go?
Let me live through you. Yeah. But you constantly reminding me how good these tacos are ain't going to make a difference for me when I'm eating mine.
I never actually thought about that. I'm sorry, guys.
We talking about you, Daddy.
This is actually an intervention. Even the older Mexicans, the older people will be like, how old were you when you came from Mexico, right? And all such age. Oh, do you remember las carnitas? You remember how those tasted? Oh, they're so much different, right? And I'm like, dude, I was 4.
Yeah.
I was eating mud. I don't know.
It's always you don't remember? Dang, you don't know the good life. You don't know the good stuff.
Yeah,
and I'm like, what you doing over here, homie? I know what you're doing over here.
What's your from your experience? Because you were born here. What did you feel was unnecessary that someone might have said or just felt like out of place or whatever.
It's one of the, like, say, like I said earlier, with the whole going to Mexico and you try to say something, you don't really know how to say it.
Yeah. So
you kind of like use the English version of it, like lock, but it's really Serarak. My cousin really got angry with me when I said that, and he kept the whole time. I wasn't even talking to him. I was talking to my mom. I was telling her like, "Hey, did you lock the door upstairs? Like where we used to, where our room was, whatever." And then he looked over at me like, "What did you just say? That's not how you say it. You're supposed to say cerrar." And he just like the whole day he was just like going off and he was telling everybody in the family. I'm just like, "Are you really that? Is it really that dang serious? Like
you should have been about to laquear your ass in the restaurant."
I'm sorry. But it's always funny because like you go over there, they want you to translate cuss words in English, and then you come here and they're like, "Bro, how you say bitch is Spanish," or something like that, and you're just like, "That's all you want to know." Like, you want to know how to say like. Very funny.
You know how to order your food at a Mexican restaurant? I think that's the funniest thing when like you see like certain people go to, I'm just gonna say it, like white folk go to a Mexican restaurant and try to be like, I know how to write this. Can I get an enchilada?
Enchiladas.
What the hell is that? Like just say it the way you say it. You know, like I don't know. One thing that would get annoying to me is when people would tell me how to pronounce my name. Because people would ask me like, "What's your name?" Like, Ernesto, right? My name's Ernesto. And what's his name? Carlos, Daniel. You know, that's how my parents named me. They didn't name me Ernesto. So that'd get annoying to me. People would be like, "No, your name's Ernesto. Why are you saying Ernesto?" Like, no,
that's Ernesto. Wrong, God.
Your name's Ernie. Oh my God, I hate that.
I guess it never really got to me.
How do you guys feel about like the American, like Mexican Americans or Hispanic Americans who like don't know how to speak Spanish?
They're some bitches. I'm just kidding.
But they used to annoy me.
Mexican Americans that don't speak.
It makes sense.
Mexican Americans that don't speak Spanish.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
I feel like they were
just
born here.
Latinx people who don't know how to speak. Like their parents speak Spanish very well, but it just did not transfer over to them.
Okay.
So I used to judge them, but it's not in a good way. Because I'd be like, why don't you learn Spanish? Because I used to feel like, and for some cases I think it's true, they'd feel like better, like they feel like Spanish is inferior to them, like it's something that's to look down on. When it's like, no, this is your heritage, this is where you come from.
That's how I took it. Like I judged them because of that.
And then I feel like there's a certain point in their life where they realize like it became a cool thing to have two different heritage, right? To have like two different cultures that you could say that you're from, to have your cheeseburgers but also have your carne asada, you know, your barbecue or carne asada. So now they want to speak Spanish. Now they want to, and they're judging people, and I'm just like,
what?
I don't know. I've never.
Bro.
I can't relate. I can't relate.
We had cousins like that.
Yeah, I know.
Not really cousins, but you know.
I mean, I've met.
They're
a
not
lot
family
of
if they don't speak Spanish.
I've met a lot of people like that who, hey, ¿qué onda, güey? What? Like, you don't understand me? Because, you know, they got the nopal in the frente. They got the cactus on their forehead.
Yeah, but it sucked up all the Spanish. What happened? It sucked up all the Spanish.
Exactly. So now it's a hot dog instead. But it never annoyed me. I never felt any way about it. But I guess, I don't know, man.
I think for me what was annoying is the fact that I could tell that they felt they were better without the Spanish. That they were better because they felt that Mexicans were dirty. They believed all these stereotypes, right? Like they didn't want to hear their mom speak Spanish in public. Like, no, I'll just speak weird or whatever.
Maybe I'm just so used to it that, man, I just got a lot of things that I need to go to therapy for. I just realized,
Oh, like one thing I would always hear is, oh no, it's 10 o'clock and you guys are going to sleep, or it's 8 o'clock and you guys have to be inside. When I was in Mexico, we'd be up 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning. Everyone knew each other. You could trust everybody. Here, everyone's like, in the United States, everyone's like bad and they're just trying to steal from you and blah, 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 blah.
You heard that?
Yeah, you never heard that?
I guess it was the opposite. Or, yeah, kind of the opposite. Like, if we're out there, and if I go to Mexico, and we're out by, like, past 11, my grandma's like, what you doing? En la calle? ¿Por qué andan en la calle? Andando, maldeando, or whatever.
I mean, they would say that, but, like,
but used to be out there.
Used to be out there. That's what I'm saying. Like, At least that's what I would hear. It's like, oh, like they would ask me, oh, did you guys go clubbing or whatever? It's like, no, I have to be at the house at such time. I'd be like, no. When I was your age, I would, in Mexico, because everyone knows each other. They all trust each other. It's a small community. We'd be out there 3 in the morning just drinking or playing soccer or fishing or whatever because, so much harmony and peace and love.
Mm-hmm.
And really, they were all just getting drunk and getting their girls pregnant at 12, 13.
Getting their dicks up. I don't know, man. I feel like, I guess I do understand and I do get like, if I'm around people who listen to corridos, like any Mexican music and stuff, I feel out of place because it's not what I listen to. And I also feel like I don't speak Spanish as well as a lot of my Mexican friends do. Even though the kind of Spanish they speak is slang, I can speak Spanish. It's just a lot of the jokes and a lot of the slang stuff I don't get, so I feel out of place. And I feel like I fit in more here, but again, there could be cases where maybe, like you said, people be like, oh, you're Mexican, your English is really good or whatever. It's like you expected it not to be or whatever. But I don't know. I don't think I've ever really given this much thought or ever really cared for it.
I think that's also a good point, though, that you say, because that's another thing. Ni de aquí ni de allá. Where it's like, if you don't listen to this type of music.
I was thinking about that.
Yeah, if you don't listen to like banda or corridos or whatever, it's like, oh, you're not Mexican.
Because I don't.
And then if like you can't do like el grito, Mexican scream or whatever, or if you don't drink tequila.
Yeah.
But one thing that would...
If you can't drink like a
24 pack, 50,000 beers, you ain't Mexican.
It's like a point system.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, if you drink tequila, that's 50 points. Corridas, that's 100 points. Oh, you don't meet the standard, you're not Mexican.
You're short about 1,000 points.
Dang.
Or even... Huh?
That's like... Oh, yeah. I was going to say, like... it's like, so you're not Mexican, but you're American. So you're an illegal what?
But even like... I mean, going back to the language as well, it's like you said, I can speak Spanish more. I've been translating pretty much all my life, so I had to learn more Spanish. But there's still words that you have problems with, and it's just like Daniel was saying. Like sometimes you just mix English and try to make it sound Spanish. Like if you're gonna tape something, I could tapearlo.
But that's not the word. See, like last time I went to Mexico, I made a friend. And by the time when I met I didn't have friends in Mexico. I was always a loner. But I had made this friend. So when we would talk, I would literally say things and he'd be like, what is that? All the time. And so the whole trip basically was him teaching me Spanish.
Wow.
Because like, I mean, the way you were supposed to say it or whatever.
Yeah.
Which was like, so again, another
hey, but you're learning. That's the difference. It's like when they take the time to be like, hey, maybe they're curious. They're like, why'd you say this? Why'd you say like, yeah? Well, in English, it's to lock the door. So you just say like, yeah, because that's how we say it over there. Oh, that's interesting. You're supposed to say like this. But maybe they start adapting your way of saying it, whatever, rather than just laughing at you. That's where it's just like, why would you just laugh?
It's going to get like...
Yeah.
And that's
what make a baby.
That's what I was getting at, where like coworkers would tell me like, oh, that's you don't know how to speak Spanish. You just laugh. Right?
Yeah.
Like, you don't know how to speak Spanish. And I'm like, bro,
you don't know how to speak English.
Like, bro, you just asked me you just asked me to like help you translate a letter. Like,
yeah,
you can't be making fun of me. I'm about to tell you you're going to jail in about 3 weeks. That's not even what the letter says.
Oh my God.
But it's like, I don't know. There's always judging. I feel like there's always... I think it comes from a place of you yourself. You know how like the saying says like wherever you're pointing at someone, whatever flaw you're pointing out at someone, it's just a reflection of yourself. Whereas like because you feel so down, maybe because okay, I'll put myself as an example. Because I felt like I wasn't American enough, I would poke holes at some Mexican American who was born here and be like, well, you're not Mexican enough. Because I didn't feel American.
Probably did that.
Yeah. So it's like you feel there's an inferiority complex, I guess, there, where it's like you want to put someone else down to put yourself up.
Yeah.
Which is a bad, toxic thing to do.
Yes, it is.
You have to get yourself out of that. But I feel like that's a lot a lot that has to do with that. So people are, because I've even ran into at stores. There was one time my mom was asking this group of ladies. It was two Mexicans. They probably weren't Mexican, but like paisa as fuck, right? Like they were speaking Spanish, and my mom comes up. We had maybe been in the States for like 3 or 4 years, and she's like, "Buenas tardes," like trying to make friends, right? And then in the most broken English, they're like, "No speak a Spanish."
Wow,
Yeah.
Bro, I almost threw some mayonnaise at them, bro. I was so mad. Like, I was like, whatever, bro. Because I always, even to this day, try to go out of my way. If I see someone struggling, that's obviously like can't speak English, whether it's at a fucking Walmart or at the hospital or, you know, walking down the street, they're struggling with their English.
That you say that.
I'll stop and help them. Like, hey, you need some ocupa ayuda, like, you know. And if I say something wrong in Spanish, they're not gonna laugh at me because they know, like, okay, well, he knows enough to translate for me. He's helping me. He's not just passing by laughing at me because I don't speak the language or whatever.
When you were like, that reminded me of something. Like I used to work at Chick-fil-A as a cashier person, and I remember one restaurant that I worked at was very like Hispanic. The Hispanic community was very high there, so we would have a lot of people who didn't really know how to speak English or order. There were times where I would help them and they'd be really happy, and like, oh, thank God, yeah, I can now order comfortably. But there were times where the people would be like, I can speak English, like. They would get offended that I spoke their native language. So eventually it led me to like, okay, well, you're going to struggle. Like, I'm just going to let you struggle. Because I just didn't want to get that,
assume or
get that attack back. Like, I can speak English, don't question me. Like, and I'm not even trying to offend you. I'm just literally trying to help you.
Yeah.
But it happens. Like, for the entitlement, like, oh, I know English, I'm better.
So basically, do you know, like, when you at home and your parents speaking Spanish, you be like, Mama!
Stop speaking! No speak. All
right, so, you know, growing up in a household where your parents speak Spanish to you all day, every day, you know, if you speak English to them, they're like, no, you got to speak Spanish.
Your home, speak Spanish, yeah.
Because, you know, they don't understand you. But when you're outside of the house, if you do speak Spanish, you have people telling you, you live in America. You got to speak English here. Or whatever. So you always kind of, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
You don't really know where you belong. Yeah. I feel you. I think that's basically like what we're discussing, right?
Yeah.
Like,
your parents speak English at all? Like your mom? Have you spoke to her in English recently?
She's broken as fuck.
She understands. My mom understands. Both of them understand. I think our dad speaks the best Spanish out of everyone.
English.
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 English. Obviously, he speaks the best Spanish. But my mom understands.
You don't even know what to turn on.
I don't know what
is
to
it
say.
Spanish or is it English? Fine.
I'm always just constantly. That's an interesting thing.
But you know what I think about? I think that's a good thing, though, man.
Yeah.
Being told to speak Spanish and English.
Yes.
English and
yes.
Why?
Because it builds character. Not only that, but it kind of molds you better. You grow better. Like, you're better than that person because they don't speak 2 languages. You better than your parents because they don't speak 2 languages. You know, but it's like being under that constant pressure, even though, you know, your parents aren't dickheads, but people who tell you speak English, you live in America, they're dickheads, obviously. But having that pressure around, especially when you're learning the other language, whether it be English or Spanish that you're learning, that pressure and that anger kind of helps you learn, pushes you to learn, even though it's unfortunate what you have to go through to get there. And I see how it kind of like, you know, alienates you.
But at least at the end of the day, you have 2 languages.
I feel like I do get what you're saying, but I feel like there's also like a problem that you have to go through that.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely a problem.
There's certain, you know, like us, we can overcome that. We can, like, we don't care. It doesn't phase us anymore. You might still get mad if like some random old white or
fucking white lady at Walmart tells you to speak English
when you're not even in the conversation. You're not even talking about them.
Hey, they say don't hit women, but
don't hit women.
White ladies ain't women. I'm just saying.
But yeah, it's like you don't want. There are certain people that can't, they can't take that. Yeah. Instead of making them stronger, it just tears them down even more. You know. So I don't know. And I think it's fucked up to not feel out of place always, you know? To feel like, am I good here? Am I not? Like,
we're just gonna move to the border, put one leg on there, and then the other there.
Just hit a split at the border.
We already got both feet over here. I don't want to put no one other foot over there. They're gonna push my ass over. I'm top heavy. Okay, so yeah, I mean, we got a little, I wouldn't say off topic, but we were trying to stay on that topic of ni de aquí ni de allá. We ended up venting a little bit on the Mexican experience, I guess.
Mexican problems. But all in all, it's just sometimes you just don't know if you're here or there.
It's frustrating.
Let us know if, you've ever felt out of place. Whether, if you're from another country and then you go live in a new one or whatever, if you feel like maybe going back to your country of birth, you'd feel out of place, or just how it feels, what your experience has been. Again, we kind of got off topic or whatever, like a little bit, because it's not something I wouldn't say that's easy to talk about. It's just hard to really gather your thoughts about something that you kind of don't notice that you go through at a certain point. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and we'll be back soon with another episode of the SpicyTalkos podcast. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and please stay tuned for the next one. We love you guys.
Bye.